Hello, everyone. Welcome to Speak Up News. And today we're going to be talking about Title IX.
So today, Sid and I will be going over what Title IX is and how it applies to educational institutions.
And some may have a general idea of what Title IX is, but similar to myself, may not know everything about it and all the details that go into it.
Okay, so the word for word definition from the Education Amendments of 1972 is no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance.
And in short, if your school receives federal funding, you can lose it if the school practices sexual discrimination. Schools must also cover and protect students from sexual harassment and sexual violence, and schools must also protect their students to be educated in a safe environment, and failures to do so may cost the school its federal funding.
So now let's dig into Title IX and look at the 9 things people need to know about Title IX.
First, Title IX is a civil right that does not allow sex discrimination in education.
Number 2, Title IX applies to all students, no matter who you are, as it is inclusive to all genders that you may identify with.
Thirdly, schools cannot counter against anyone filing a complaint, and they must keep the individual safe from any other type of harassment if a complaint is filed.
Number 4, schools should ensure that the individual being abused doesn't need to share the space or be around the space of their abuser.
At number 5, schools can issue non-contact directives to approach individuals that they may have interacted with.
Number 6, schools must be active to make sure that campuses don't practice sex discrimination.
Seventh, schools can't discourage an individual from continuing their education.
And number 8, all schools from K-12 and a majority of colleges that get federal funding must follow Title IX or they will be at risk to lose their federal funding.
Lastly, schools must have an established procedure to handle complaints for sexual violence, discrimination, and harassment.
All right, so let's give you a little bit of data points real quick. So 1 in 4 women on college campuses in the United States have been sexually assaulted, according to recent statistics. More than 90% of sexual assault victims on college campuses do not report the assault.
And I believe this comes from Columbia University, right? Or an article from Columbia, yeah,
Yes,
Columbia.edu. Yeah. That's where that comes from. And the Me Too movement, also relevant to this, is where women share their stories and experiences, and it can be to enlighten others and increase awareness, and at times call out the person who has harassed them.
So then this brings on the controversy. Does our society and do our schools do enough to prevent students from getting into this situation in the first place? So what are your thoughts?
Yeah. So for me, especially with a lot of recent stuff, I've thought quite a bit about it. Especially with cases and experiences within members of communities that Noah and I are a part of. And I think I can speak for myself that I'm definitely not an expert in this, and a lot of people that we know are not experts either, especially like for example, like student leaders. And SJSU, our alma mater, I guess now, does have a procedure and professional staff to deal with it and report it. And I do believe that the cases should be reported to them. But also, I understand that if the students or even staff may have criticisms about SJSU's and maybe other schools and institutions' current methods of dealing with it, and I think criticisms are definitely necessary. So if it's not satisfactory, students should demand improvements, and maybe even improvements to the system and the staff if it's not satisfactory, because we do have that power and that say, especially if enough people can rally behind it. So definitely for improvement, and maybe even something else that could be suggested, that student leaders can receive more extensive training, which could also be helpful, because as much as we would all like to firstly prevent it and also like be able to deal with it in a responsible manner, I don't know if like certain people are necessarily equipped to, and that's why we have this why the school would have this specific process and staff to deal with these things. And yeah, again, I'm definitely not an expert with these situations, but from a public health background, I could definitely be behind and would promote preventative measures, and that's a lot of what our major and field is about. Is of course, yeah, we should definitely deal with current problems with cases because that's important, but also preventing it from happening in the future and making it either less of a problem or improving the situation is very important as well. And my main idea behind that is just promoting like sex ed and good sex ed, and SXU has had those measures implemented. I don't know the current status of them, but for example, like Noah and I, our freshman year, we are required to take this Haven course. There was something about I think drug abuse as well as sexual assault, but it's interesting. I'm glad that the school requires that, but also not I'm not sure if that's enough. Because honestly, like some people I know, and for whatever reason, whether they have other obligations, like it either may not be taken seriously, or the people who take it might not gain everything that they need to gain from it, especially since it's not in classroom experience. So I definitely advocate for and support comprehensive sex ed in both middle school and high school. And there's a lot of things regarding that, but definitely an in-person experience, in-class experience for middle schoolers and for high schoolers, especially because that is the age where these things start to happen. And just making sure that there's a lot of things that could go into sex ed and should go into sex ed, but consent is definitely number one, and that it should be required every time. And some people unfortunately don't know that, and we should make sure that our education system reinforces that, and everything else that kind of goes into like a healthy relationship with ourselves and with other people. So yeah, just a good sex ed for both middle schoolers and high schoolers that includes consent and other things that regard healthy relationships, both like emotionally and physically. And I think the good thing is that there is a California bill, AB 329, which actually worked with in high school that was passed. I think it was passed maybe like I want to say 2015, around that does mandate, at least for public schools, I believe it does mandate comprehensive sex ed, which has like a list of what it should include to be taught at least once in middle school, once in high school. Yeah, I don't know the degree to how successful that is, but that's something I do definitely advocate for is sex ed in high school and middle school, and making sure that it's good, both the curriculum and what it includes, and also the teachers and the environment that is conducive to a safe space where all students can learn correctly. And I think yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Yeah, preventing these issues from happening, and that's one of the best ways of doing it, is having good sex ed for our youth going into the future. Yeah.
So, my opinion on this is like, dude, for sure we don't do enough. Holy crap. So at San Jose State, we take like, as it states, that we take an online course. Online course. When we hear online course, that Haven course, people could do other things, such as go on Netflix, go on their phone. They could just skip and like click answers that they think is comprehensive, like common sense. There's like, of course, like we've been taught a little bit in middle school, a little bit in high school, but that's like what, during health class? In middle school, we would joke about it, dude. We would joke. We'd blow condom balloons. We'd make fun of the teacher putting a condom on a banana phone. Like, we're not reinforcing what we're taught at all. Like, sure, we could have learned it for like a semester in high school or one semester or quarter in middle school, but that's it. We're not like further taught like it's good or bad, and like sometimes we do just make fun of it. Like, I feel like we don't do enough, or we don't have enough, or we have like this kind of like social taboo that we don't want to talk about it. Like, for example, is that one of my Odding's friends on their syllabus has Title IX. I've not had a syllabus during my whole career in college about Title IX. Not one zip. And go
What
ahead.
school was that again, Noah?
I think it was like she goes to Irvine or Davis,
It was like a UC.
but they
Yeah.
had it. They had it. It was on it. It was clearly stated on their syllabus. We don't have that. Teachers don't reinforce that. Teachers don't talk about it. Like, how are we supposed to reinforce what we learned online if we're not going to be able to talk about it in person? See, that's the issue, is that we don't have practical practice with these kind of issues of sexual assault, sexual, like, like kind of like harassment in a sense, because we don't have the consequence to it. There's no consequence online when we take the course of, like, if we pass or fail. Yeah, we just retake the course, but like that doesn't physically, mentally, emotionally affect us, right? We don't see that, and I think that's the issue. We don't see the aftermath of what the consequences are, right? And I think it's like we're not constantly reminded that this is an issue until it happens, right? Once it happens, it already happened, and there's like little to no coming back from that. And I think the school system has failed us in the sense that we're not getting the message. Look, 1 in 4 women in college campuses are sexually assaulted, dude. 1 in fucking 4. That's insanity. That's too high of a number, and 90% of them don't even report it. That's so much, dude. That's like so much, and we'll never know what's wrong until we're told it's wrong, right? And I think that's the issue nowadays, is that we just don't have a comprehensive, like, teaching method for students to, like, absorb and implement practice. And I think that's what we need. We need a better way in our system to continually enforce this, to make it more, instead of like a negative stigma to have, like, sex and stuff, like, at a younger age. Of course, it's like it's bad in some cases, and some cultures may be bad. I do agree, but like, these are human beings. They're gonna, if they want to do it, they could do it. But give them education. Let them know. Let them know what to do. Because without having that prior knowledge, how would they be able to know that they're responsible for it? So yeah, I think schools need to do more, and I feel like our government is not strict enough for them to do more. I think it's on the fault of the government, in a sense, that these schools are not doing enough. So yeah, that is my opinion. Anything else
Yeah.
you'd like to share?
No, I think it's a very complex and topic, and there's definitely more to talk about. But for us right now today, I think that's good with me. Yeah, for me.
All right, so Um, we'd like to again hear more about your thoughts and share your kind of thoughts, like on Twitter, Instagram. Comment down below. Let us know. We really want to hear about like other ideas, because we want to learn from each other. We want to be a community that can educate one another to further grow and, like, be more knowledgeable, like what's happening in our surroundings, and improve ourselves as individuals. And for next week, we'll be talking about evictions. And how does that affect us in health, our communities, and our community?